First day of free agency, and the Commanders signed what I think are three day one starters. An important back. Add that to Zach Ertz from last week. They're chopping wood, and they're chopping wood the exact way I kind of thought Adam Peters would. Let's have a podcast. What up, everybody? It's JP Finley. It is the Beltway Football Podcast brought to you by Oarsman Automotive of Virginia. We ride with them, want you to do the exact same thing. They've got 7 locations all over Northern Virginia. Check them out. Call Bob Biaggi. Text me. I'll give you his cell phone number. No problem. On the spot, I'll just give out Biaggi's cell phone number to random people. Mitch, I almost said not just Washington football talk. I almost just started there with Redskins talk. I don't know. Been a busy day for the Commanders. This is exactly kind of what I expected. Dorrance Armstrong, not a lot of big names, certainly not top of the market guys. If you have the contracts and stuff and want to run through them, feel free.
I got them right here.
Yeah, they signed 3 starters today and Austin Ekeler.
Yeah.
What's funny is of the 5 guys they've signed so far in Lavu, Biadasz, which I'm going to have to work on that name, Armstrong, Ekeler, and Ertz, I think the 2 biggest names, Ekeler and Ertz, are probably my least favorite of the class. I really like Lavu, especially at the money. Like, I just think he helps them a ton. Biadasz, I like all 3, the 2 Cowboys and the Panther. I don't know what Zach Ertz has left. I like Ekeler. I'm not sure what the role is there. I don't know. Give us the names, the positions, the contracts.
It's all the silver helmets are the ones that to be excited about. Biadasz, Dorrance Armstrong, and Lavu. So you got Austin Ekeler signed a 2-year deal worth up to $11.5 million. Ekeler gets $3 million signing bonus. Only $4.8 million in year 1. Zach Ertz was 1 year up to $5 million.
Let's try to make sense of that. Everybody can read 2 years, 11, 12 mil, whatever the Ekeler agency is saying. Probably the reality is it's a 1 year, maybe $5 million deal.
Yeah, it looks like it's a 1 year, $5 million deal. Probably with a little bit of incentives to get a little bit higher than that. But it's not a break the bank deal, and especially when you look around the league at some of the other running back signings. I mean, Saquon got 3 years, 38 mil basically. That's a pretty big number from him, and I think you see the deal that Josh Jacobs got. So it certainly was a cheaper deal than.
Now those guys are a little younger, but yeah.
Saquon's 1 year younger. I mean, he has a little less tread than Ekeler, but he's only a year younger.
Eckler's got some tread. I don't mind it. Like, I think Robinson should still be your premier back, but I think if Cliff and Anthony Lynn, who's on this staff, Anthony Lynn was with the Chargers when Ekeler broke through as an undrafted guy and then really started to become a major part of that offense. Like, they're identifying people they like.
With Antonio Gibson going up to New England as well, which I think we all expected AG was going to be gone, but it being official, Ekeler kind of fills that role and probably can do a little bit more than AG has shown, at least a little bit more in the league than.
Well, dude, I was thinking about this. I was thinking about our dear friend Pete, and like at this point, they were right to let Gibson walk. And I like AG. We both know him. He's a good person. And there is elite athletic potential in there, but you're 4 years into the league, dude. You kind of are what you are at that point. And Ekeler 4 years in was significantly better than AG. And I think it's just time to turn the page here. I don't think that's a big deal. Now, could you have drafted another back? Yeah, but they probably wanted somebody with some dependability. With Rodriguez and Robinson, you got a 3rd-year guy and a 2nd-year guy. Like, now you got a vet.
And when you look at some of Eckler's numbers, both receiving and in the run game and touchdowns and all that, you got to think about that offense that he was in, with Herbert and, Mike Williams and who's the other receiver out there?
Allen. But
Allen, yeah.
I think Eckler's pass catching ability for what is likely to be a rookie quarterback is huge. I want to let you talk about the Cowboys center, because you were hitting this point for a while and they didn't go necessarily top of market, but they gave that dude some real money. He's made, I think, 53 starts in 4 seasons. He's been super durable. I love the fact that they largely got durable guys. Zach Ertz is not, but he's also old and kind of a flyer. But Armstrong, Lavu, and Biadish are all super durable players that have been like Quinn and Peters talked about this explosive and physical, and we want to be violent players. All these dudes qualify. They got a guy that can call protections at the line of scrimmage. A position they absolutely needed. Clearly, they don't identify Stromberg as a center, or if they do, they're not sure they can count on him day one. Maybe this lets him play guard. There's still tackle trouble, obviously, but I like this signing a lot, especially for a team that has continuously kind of punted at addressing center. They address it.
Yeah, I mean, I like Tyler Biadasz a lot. You mentioned the durability of him, which I think is important. He's really athletic in the run game and does a really good job of getting the second level. Of course, a lot of that helps that he was playing center amongst two all-pro guards that were
That
that were
helps.
in the Cowboys offense. So
And a Pro Bowl left tackle when he was healthy.
yeah, it makes you look good. But the fact of the matter is when you have a rookie quarterback, I love the idea of having that veteran center there to help him read defenses and call out protections. It's just kind of one more layer of protection for that quarterback. And you can look last year at a macro level for the Commanders about how things changed when Tyler Larson came in and how much better that offensive line operated and how much better it looked, at least in terms of lining up correctly and identifying the right Mike backer and figuring out what the defense is doing. And so when I look at Biadasz, I think that he's somebody that can bring a lot of stability to the middle of that interior of that offensive line and help out Jaden Daniels, Drake May, whoever the young quarterback is that's under center. So it's a good signing. He got 3 years, 30 mil. None of the guarantees are out there yet, so unless it's something I missed, but it's not a break the bank kind of deal, and he's certainly a durable player who can step right in and start right away.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably maybe he got 2 years for 22, something like that.
Yeah.
Do you want to like here? We'll throw grades at these things. Like my overall grade is pleased because it's what I thought they would do. The people that are out there that thought they were going to sign Kirk or make a run at Christian Wilkins or whatever big move was out there, despite them repeatedly saying they weren't going to do that, like I just wasn't expecting. I thought they would be strategic, sign veterans, but almost all these guys, well, not all of them, but Biadasz is, Lavu and Armstrong are a little bit past their rookie deals, but like these are all guys that outside of Ekeler and Ertz, like of the three first signings, I think they're all 27, maybe 26 guys that, aren't old, aren't bank breakers, because I know nobody wants to hear this. This seems probably going to be pretty bad this year still. Maybe they get to like 7-10 or something, but they're a year away from one dude being able to step in and dramatically change how a season looks. And so that's why I expected them to keep to try to keep a lot of cap space for next year, when if you realize you've got a quarterback, then you can make a big move, whether it's trade or free agency or whatever, to try to, really identify and change where you need a difference maker. Maybe you're going to scoff because of the Brian Burns trade. I don't know. We can have that conversation, but like overall, I think their grade is like a B minus B.
Yeah.
And I think almost each of these players kind of plays to that number. And frankly, I think their last few off seasons have been C minus and D's. So even if just day one of free agency is like what the last group always tried to do was show you how smart they were and go with like unconventional things that in their mind, they're like, you just wait and see. They were a big, we'll show you crowd. And that never really came to fruition. I think today, Washington identified the board, didn't swing at any nasty curveballs, and they just slapped a couple singles out there. And if you put a couple singles out there, maybe you get a double, maybe somebody steals, maybe there's a throwing error, but like you put enough singles on the board, ideally you start scoring. And that's what I've seen. And for a team that's bad and has so many holes, I'm cool with it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Tony Gwynn's one of my favorite baseball players ever. I'm cool with singles.
I agree. I mean, I think a B is a good grade somewhere in there. I think you can look at kind of free agency under Dan Snyder, and there was a lot of times it was addressed with brute force. Just go out and spend a F load of money, sign, whatever veteran. Under under Ron, you talked about kind of the arrogance here. I think this at least day one of free agency was attacked with precision. It was almost surgical in how they went about trying to find kind of youngish guys who were still mostly in their 20s and had, experience and durability, and they went after positions of need. They didn't necessarily go after the top of the market, but they signed what seemed to be three solid players, guys who are going to step right
Three
in.
day one starters.
3 day one starters. And
I think Lavu helps him the most right away.
I'm most excited about Lavu, definitely.
If you look at his career, dude, I mean, he's missed what 2 games in the last 3 seasons since he really emerged as a starter in Carolina. He's averaged like call it 115 tackles a season, 6.5 sacks. I mean, he's a playmaker.
His career's been a rocket ship, though. I mean,
yeah,
he was with the Jets and didn't
guy.
do a whole lot. Yeah, went to Carolina, and it took him a year or two, I think, to break through. And he's had 100+ tackles the past.
No, I think he started with the Jets.
That's what I said, Jets, and then with the
right. Gotcha.
Carolina, 100+ tackles the last 2 years. And I think that he's a guy that provides that kind of toughness in the middle of the field. I'm not comparing him to London Fletcher, but a London Fletcher-esque type player who a guy that doesn't mind putting his nose in the middle of everything,
but I think
also has the athleticism to
But he also has
the athleticism to do a little bit more than in the modern day than what London did.
No, I just think he's a little bit of a different player in that he could be like an edge rusher. Like he broke into the league trying to be an edge rusher and just didn't have the size and was quick enough to play backer. You're right to not comp him to London because of London's accomplishments and being arguably a Hall of Fame player. I also think he's a little bit different, but I think the explosive, fast, I mean, super physical. It's funny, dude.
Yeah.
I talked to someone you and I both know that was coaching in the NFC South back in freaking like December, like towards the end of the year. They were kind of checking in on, is Ron and everybody getting blown out? And I was like, yeah, it's only a matter of time. And then I was like, how's it going where you are? And I don't want to say where, but, and I think by saying this, yeah. So look, this was a place with a veteran quarterback starting, and that only leaves 2 teams. So I left myself enough with the NFC South team with a veteran quarterback starting. And they had some real trouble with the Panthers. And basically, this was unsolicited back then. He was telling me that Lavu is a real, I'm not going to curse because I don't want to upset the powers that be, but on the radio, we say father ducker. That he's a real father ducker, that he plays hard and physical and to the whistle and maybe through the whistle. But I also think, big man, Lavu, I mean, none of these guys are high draft picks. You got to, maybe Armstrong is, but I don't believe so. But Lavu and Ekeler are both undrafted guys. When you make it in the league that long as an undrafted guy, like you're doing something really, really right. And that kind of stuff matters to me when we've talked about, make sure that this team kind of builds toughness and a work ethic. And I don't want to act like the guys that are going to be back aren't tough and don't have a work ethic, but there's something else to it when, Armstrong's a 4th rounder. Like
certainly at linebacker, they don't have that toughness, that grit that a guy like Lavu is going to bring. And I mean, Lavu, real quick, 3 years, 36 mil was the deal for him. I imagine, much like we talked about with Biotish, it's a reasonable contract.
All 3 of these are pretty similar. Even the Armstrong deal got reported at 3 for 45. The reality is 3 for 33. Like,
right.
In short, when you're looking at these NFL contracts, if you want to know what they really are, this is a rough outline, certainly not a to the letter, but roughly subtract at least the last year. And if it's anything past 3, probably subtract the last 2 years, because 4 and 5 year deals are fake. So if it's 3, you're probably getting 2. If it's 2, you're probably getting 1 as far as guarantees, and chop the total reported number in half and maybe even like reduce it by 60%. Roughly. So we talked Lavu, we talked Biotish, we talked Ekeler. You want to talk Armstrong?
Yeah, just real quick as a whole, like what I like so much about the Biotish, Lavu, Armstrong signings is that being not being relatively unspectacular, they're they're fundamental building block players, or at fundamental building block players at positions that you need guys like that at. I
Totally.
love that they're addressing up the middle, kind of like baseball. You always want good center fielder, good pitcher, good catcher. You're answering your center question. You're answering a little bit of a linebacker question. You're starting to build yourself up the middle and on the lines, which is important. So Dorrance Armstrong, yeah, 3 for 45, really 33 guaranteed is the real number. Obviously some incentives there for him to get to if he can. Early on, I think uh I was starting to feel, and I was starting to feel a little bit of Ron fatigue because Dan Quinn was going out and getting, Cowboys guys that he knew. Now that we see kind of the class starting to round out, it's a little bit, it doesn't quite feel like that. But certainly Dorrance Armstrong's a guy who has been durable and been kind of overly more successful than I think he gets credit for. And one of the Cowboys writers that we follow, are both friends with, was tweeting about him a little bit, about that he was one of the guys that, the Cowboys in their cap situation thought that
Who?
they were going to be able to bring back.
Who was tweeting it?
I'd have to go back and look it up.
Oh, all right.
I didn't have
Well,
the net. It wasn't what's his name? No, it wasn't Newey.
okay. Um, I think I get kind of the Ron Panthers thing. That was frustrating when they made the Commanders. But one big difference I would say is that this staff has been kind of created far and wide, whereas Ron's staff all came from Carolina also. I guess Jack didn't, but a lot of those assistants were Ron's guys from Carolina.
Right.
I don't worry about that. So we can almost specifically address the Bryce Huff thing, because Huff signed in Philly for about 17 or 18 a year. I just was never as in on Huff as others were, and that doesn't mean anything. He may prove to be a complete stud, right? But I'm not sure. Huff's role in New York was a straight up situational pass rusher, and he never had more than 3.5 sacks until this past season where we popped for 10. And maybe he just really evolved as a player. But this Washington needs a guy that is pretty much close to a 3-down, edge player, somebody that can help you against the run. And I think Armstrong can do that. And Armstrong has shown more for a longer period of time to me. And I think what really makes sense to me is Armstrong thrived for Dan Quinn and Joe Witt. And maybe he thrived because he had Micah Parsons and Tank Lawrence. Like, there's other factors there, right? But I think, I don't know. I like this signing. This is the one I think we kind of thought was coming. And I think some hope, and you can still hope this. If you were all in on Huff, then that ship has sailed. If you're all in on Brian Burns, like I know the big man was, that ship has sailed. We can get to that in a minute. But just because you sign Armstrong doesn't prevent you from signing somebody else. I'm not sure they will. I'm not even sure I expect it. Like, I wonder if like Tuhill or James Smith-Williams or somebody coming back wouldn't be part of it. Or if you are able to draft somebody and they're coming back, then if you draft somebody, maybe that is the extent of your filling the DN position out. But I like it. I think Lavu and Biadish help the most immediately because those are like desperate positions of need. I think Armstrong has the highest ceiling because I think, what if he emerges with more playing time? Because that's the other side of that coin, is he didn't get the snaps that a lot of guys get. What if he emerges as an 11 sack guy and you got him for 11 mil or whatever it is? Like, it's possible he has another gear. I think Biadish and Lavu are what they are, which are ideally just good players at positions of need.
Yeah, I mean, you look at his snap to sack ratio, and he would have led the Commanders the past 2 years in sacks had he been on the Commanders team. Now, obviously, that wasn't the case, but you need.
Wouldn't have been Payne 2 years? Didn't Payne pop? Oh, Commanders.
Payne was 3 years ago.
Snaps to sack ratio, you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
which was pretty high because he wasn't getting on the field, that entire time. But I like bringing in a guy who's familiar with the Cowboys with Dan Quinn defense, and Joe Witt knows well, and I think he's a guy who can step in and just kind of be a solid player. If I, Assuming that he gets the number of snaps that we expect him to, as presumably one of the starting ends, you would expect a double digit sack total out of him, and any extra production you get from those edge rushers is only going to help the interior guys, John and Duran, get to where they need to be. So it's another kind of explosive player who has some
And to that point, better linebacker play, and a linebacker that has a track record of getting to the quarterback with some degree of success, like Lavu does, helps John and Duran too.
well, and I like the fact that Lavu is kind of your more kind of standard middle linebacker, or can be your standard middle linebacker in a defense. Also frees up Jamin Davis to hopefully be a little bit more athletic and not have to worry about calling plays and setting the defense and doing all that. I would assume that Lavu is probably going to take over that role, the green dot, when he comes in. So I think you can look at these signings, and they're solid signings for who they are, but I think they also add a bunch to both the offense and defense to their units when you look at how they can affect the rest of the guys there.
Okay, I don't know. We may have to put our left hands up here. I'm looking at the pronunciation because we keep saying it one way.
Lavu.
It might be Luvu.
So I thought it was Luvu, but you've been on the radio all day. You were on the radio, so I figured that you guys had gone through and gotten Lavu as the correct signing.
Mitch,
Correct,
you're aware of our production team on the radio. You think anybody was checking the pronunciation of Frankie Luvu?
It's a crack team you got over there. Well, listen, the same crack team on the podcast didn't pick up on Lavu either. So
I don't know how to do this. I did take a class in this on college, but I'm going to be honest. I cheated my way through it. It says LOO are capitalized, and then dash, and then BOO are undercase, lowercase.
Yeah, Luvu. Yeah.
Luvu. All right.
Luvu. Not the Parisian art museum.
That's the Louvre.
Yeah.
Highest ceiling, lowest ceiling of the 5 new guys so far, or best, worst, whatever you give me some superlatives.
I think the highest ceiling is going to be Dorrance Armstrong. I think just the fact of the matter that he's going to get starting snaps, presumably. He has a lot of opportunity to really break out, particularly with the interior guys. Assuming that Joe Witt and company are able to put together a defense that emphasizes their strengths. I think having John and Duran on the inside, the defenses that they ran the past couple of years with John and Duran on the inside didn't do a ton to emphasize Montez and Chase on the outside to kind of help them out. I think there'll be some more complementary defensive front calls to kind of help them out. I think Austin Ekeler is probably the biggest name that they signed, and I think folks will be very excited about him being here and look at kind of his touchdown production and some of his rushing and passing game numbers that were put up in LA. I think he's a good signing. I like the fact that it's kind of a 1 year, $5 million deal, 2 year, $10 million deal, however you want to break it down. But I don't think he's going to be nearly as productive here as he's been. And that's not a knock against Ekeler as a player. I just don't think that he's going to be used at the same frequency and the same extent and be, and have the opportunities that he had there.
Yeah, I think there's a role for Ekeler, and I think if offensively they're productive at the quarterback position, he'll be. I think, to me, it's Ertz. Maybe you don't want to include Ertz because that was last week.
Yeah.
I don't know what he's got left. I think Eckler's got more left. I am a little surprised for a dude. Wasn't it just last year he was like requesting trades? Now he's basically signing a 1 year deal in Washington. I think I'm with you on Armstrong. I think we will hear Luvu's name the most because he's going to be in the middle of that defense making a bunch of plays. I'm giving you superlative for everybody. I think if everything goes well, nobody really remembers how to pronounce Biadish's name because the best centers are the ones you never hear from, unless it's like Jason Kelsey and he's a Saturday Night Live character. I think Armstrong, eventually we'll hear from Dan Quinn on this, and it'll be hard to like balance the Dan Quinn's super energetic about everything vibe to the if he's telling what the truth about what he actually thinks about this one guy. But I bet when we do hear from Dan Quinn, he's going to be through the roof about getting Armstrong. I also honestly kind of expect them to sign Jordan Lewis, the Cowboys slot corner that's a free agent. And I think that'll be another contract like this where it's not a ton of years, not a ton of money, not the top of the market kind of deal. Overall, if I had to give you like one overall thought, I think, and listen, if you were upset about Josh Harris and Bob Myers, even who is an actual basketball guy, being in the quarterback interviews in Indy, like I can kind of get it, whatever. But I think today showed you that this is an organization with a plan to build this thing the right way and be relatively patient. Like it's still pro football. Things could change overnight. Like I'm cognizant of that. You get the right quarterback, whatever. Look at Houston. I get all that. But like Adam Peters didn't take this job if they were like, all right, year one, find us a quarterback, sign Russ Wilson, go trade for whoever.
Brian Burns.
Yeah, Brian Burns or like whatever receiver, Hollywood Brown, like they clearly have a plan and a vision and are sticking to it. And they said they're not going to build through free agency. They're not. That's what I'm most encouraged by is what like Harris, we're one day in, but is to his word as is Peters. And that's what I care the most about. Like Dan Quinn to me is the third leg of this stool. Like ownership and front office seem to have a distinct vision, and I'm cool with that.
Yeah, I mean, we used to talk all the time about the rules of Tandler. Watch what they do, not what they say. This is kind of the first time we've had in a while where the front office is matching. They're doing what they said they were going to do.
Yeah.
Not built through free agency. I thought they got some nice building blocks here. Biotish, I like the signing because I like the veteran nature and I like the durability and his success. He is a little bit of a smaller center when you look at him, and he's a little more Nick Gates than Tyler Larson, if you will, just in terms of body size. But he is a nasty dude that plays through the whistle and kind of has all that going for him. So it's overall, I really like what they did today. I mean, I think Ekeler is a nice compliment to what the Commanders have in the running back room, and the rest of the guys we've talked about. I think Frankie Louvu is going to be the guy that's going to pop the most out of this group, and honestly should be the guy that pops the most out of this group right away because he's going to be in the middle of that defense.
The only thing I've tried to balance against my own brain, and it's interesting, the guy that reached out to me on this many years ago, I remember when Ron first got the job, and a buddy of mine that had been in and around the league for 20, 30 years was like, dude, all he's doing is kicking the can down the road. And it's day one of free agency, so you can't make any sort of determination. But that's when we started saying like the era of self-preservation. And I thought it was really strong and potent in the last group. I don't believe that's the case with this group because I think they have a vision and now they're like kind of checking it off. I think by not addressing quarterback that first year, Ron really kicked the can. He's like, oh, I got to see what the owner wants in this other guy. Whereas I think they're going to address quarterback this year. It's not going to be in the free agency market, but that to me is why you want to maintain your flexibility here. And everybody can say, oh, well, you never draft that high that often. Well, they're drafting that high for the second time in 5 years. There's nothing to say you can't. The Giants are again too. You know what I mean? But I think they're trying to build this thing the right way with a ton of flexibility and then believe in their own scouting ability to not be giving up picks and trying to go after other stuff, I think it's a really good first step. And I think it's consistent with what we've been told to expect. And that might be what I'm most happy about, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, and I think you can look around the rest of the NFC East a little bit. What's happening in New York makes little to no sense to me, and it seems like they jumped at that Brian Burns trade. Brian Burns is a great player. I wanted the Commanders to go after him, all those different things.
They're a good player.
What's that?
Like TJ Watt is great. I think Brian Burns is good.
Good. Well, okay. He's certainly not in the TJ Watt level, but I'd say he's a pretty good to very good player.
He's very good, but like I think we got caught up in this with Chase Young and Montez Sweat to some degree. If you know what I mean, like we talked. I don't know. Maybe Burns is better than that.
I think he's certainly better than. I certainly think he's better than Chase.
I agree.
Montez, he might be similar to, and I guess if you weren't going to pay Montez, then why would you trade? Why would you make the trade? Anyway, the point being, the Giants are in this ether of, they don't feel particularly close, but they're making big deals. They made a big deal, for a guy like Brian Burns. It doesn't really fit to make a lot of sense.
Let Saquon walk for $1 million, and maybe the Saquon era was just over. Just real quick on Burns versus Montez. Both guys in 5 years in the NFL have one season with double-digit sacks. Sacks, but
I would say Montez is a very good player too. Like he's not elite, he's not great.
That was my point. You said great.
Yeah. By no means was I trying to. I'm not trying to pump up Brian Burns.
At least the Burns trade, if you're a Giants fan, they didn't give up a ton for him.
They just paid him a ton.
They paid him a ton. They
gave up a second and a fifth for people who don't know. He has a $150 million deal with 88 guaranteed.
I think the Giants suffer from the hellscape that is probably 75% of the NFL, where you either don't have a quarterback or you don't have the quarterback, but you're paying them like a quarterback. And I'm not sure which is worse, frankly, to be where Washington has been forever, where you just don't have the guy, or to be where the Giants and the Saints and the Raiders and, frankly, we can talk about it, the Falcons, like where you have a guy that you're paying a ton that because that's market rate, but you're not getting the results of the top of the market. I don't know. I don't know if it's worse to be in the abyss or to be in the middle paying it top of the market rates. But I know that both of them suck. And I think the Giants are there.
It's only better to be in the abyss if you have the self-recognition that that's where you are and something needs to change, which I think is part of the problem that Washington had for a long time was no one wanted to recognize that they were in the abyss falling down. But like when we talked about Ekeler, I like when you compare the Saquon deal to the Ekeler deal. I like the value you're getting from Austin Ekeler because Saquon's getting, whatever it is, almost 15 a year, or 13, 14 a year. Eckler's at $5 million. So I when you look around,
dude, of the big name running backs, I like getting Ekeler. And I also like, and I don't know if you agree with this, because I think the Anthony Lynn connection would terminate any suggestion of it. Like, nobody from marketing had any say in free agency. like they will now promote Ekeler because people have heard of him, but like Armstrong, Biadasz, and Luvu are far more important signings. You know what I mean? And I don't think, how you go to the store and they have jerseys for sale?
Yeah.
I don't think they're selling any of those jerseys.
You might get a couple Ekeler jerseys out there.
No, I'm saying of the other three.
Oh, yeah.
Armstrong, Biadasz.
You know why there's not
outside of like Chris Bryant, who's going to order one of all. Like there are people that want to be unique or have every jersey humanly possible, but just in general, I'm saying
the jersey sale that's going to happen this year is the number 2 pick. That's going to be when you walk in the store. That's going to be the first thing you see when you're walking to the register. There's going to be little trinkets with whoever it is on it. That's that's your guy who's going to be the marketing department
They
is
might
starting
already
to
be
ramp up
selling
for.
like number 2 overall pick T-shirts that just say like number 2. I mean, hell, if they sell a T-shirt per game, you might as well sell number 2 overall pick shirts. I also think much that you and I believed throughout and is now fairly confirmed, right? They were not going to chase a veteran quarterback, Russ, Baker, Kirk. I mean, they didn't get the opportunity to chase at least Kirk, I guess at least Baker.
Oh.
Like I never thought they were. I don't think they're going to be at all in the discussion for Fields. They're going to draft a quarterback, and I think it's the right move, frankly. And I'm cool with it. And I don't think they're trading back. Please don't tweet me.
Yeah. Timestamp guy, by the way, 6:15 on March 11th on whatever it is, Monday, March 11th.
Mitch.
8:15. 8:15. 8:15.
Are you the ones in Utah in Mountain Time? How the hell?
I might as well I might as well have gone skiing. 8:15 on Monday night. So when I look around it, I thought I saw 6. I misread the clock. Yeah. Certainly I want them to go out and get more O-line help here over the next couple of days. When I look around the Robert Hunt deal for $100 million, I think he's a really good player. That's more money than I thought that he was going to command, and thus out for the Commanders.
Still got Onwenu out there.
Right. You still have Jonah Williams. You still have
did he not sign?
Did he sign? Oh,
I don't know. I know Tyron Smith didn't. I know Trent Brown didn't. I mean, those are top. Because he is now signed 2 Cowboys guys, do you think there's a better, or does it change at all, them trying to sign Tyron Smith?
I don't think so. I don't know that Tyron Smith makes sense for this team. He's going to be high dollar. He's probably a 1 or 2 year rental. It's going to be expensive. Jonah Williams hasn't signed yet, at least as far as I've seen.
Yeah,
so you have a bunch of tackles still kind of available out there. I think that they might be not even a tomorrow signing. It might be a couple days before that kind of market starts figuring itself out. It's pretty thin on tackles. So
if you can, I would re-sign Cornelius Lucas. Stop faking and booty shaking, to quote Big Luke. I would re-sign him kind of ASAP, just so you have another tackle. And then I would try like hell to get a tackle at 36 or 40. And It might not be great, but then you've got Wiley, Cosme, Biadish, insert left guard of the future, Mason Brooks, Chris Paul, Stromberg, and
guard X.
Yeah, guard X and tackle Y at 36 or 40. Or you could trade up there. It's incredibly hard to find good left tackles in free agency. They happen very rarely. The reason your boy Jonah Williams lost his left tackle job is because Orlando Brown Jr. came available, right? Because Kansas City's really reluctant to pay anybody. And
it's also tough to pay anybody when your quarterback's making $50+ million a year.
The hell, I think Mahomes is still on the board for only 45.
Sorry, 45 mil.
Listen, KC's problems are not Mahomes driven. He's
certainly not.
Pretty team friendly, I would say. I think they're Clark Hunt driven, frankly. But you want to elsewhere in the NFC East, Bryce Huff, Cowboys pretty much playing defense. Eagles kind of all over the place. They sign Saquon. Obviously, they lose DeAndre Swift.
They re-signed Landon Dickerson to a massive deal, 4 years, $84 million.
They take care of the trenches in Philly, period.
They do.
Giants lost Xavier McKinney to Green Bay, I believe. Speaking of McKinney now, I feel like Cam Curl's market is not like if you had asked Cam Curl a month ago what his market looked like versus now after all these veteran safeties have been released, I think it might not be as hot as he once hoped.
That's probably true. You look around the Pats putting on the transition tag to Kyle Duggar was interesting as far as you start looking at the safety group, because that just kind of guarantees them, $14 million for the year, and that kind of sets a baseline when you start re-signing guys. but yeah, that the veteran safeties out there was crazy. The number Geno Stone going from Baltimore to where'd he go? The Bengals for 15 mil.
Somebody, I think Eric DeCosta said he thinks Geno Stone's the best seventh round pick he's ever made.
Yeah, and yeah,
Well, think
Lamar.
about it. If Kyle Hamilton's not there and doesn't command the money, Geno probably doesn't get out of Baltimore.
Right, that's definitely true. Darnell Savage got a 3-year deal. I'm not sure.
How many more games does Maryland have left this season over under 1.5?
Under.
Who do they play?
I don't know.
Penn State
But
again, maybe?
who cares? Maryland stinks.
Because we can
So
bet on.
frustrating.
And I bet on Penn State yesterday, and it treated me right.
Emotional hedge with Penn State.
No, that was just this team ain't going to show up for their last game on the road, and I'm betting on the home team.
You know what? Maryland plays Rutgers. They might have one. They might have 2 games left in them. They might.
Where is that?
The tournament is in Indy, right?
Where in the middle of the country?
Yeah. It's in Minneapolis at the Target Center.
Woof.
You know what? Maryland has bad Minneapolis memories from the Final Four in 2001, 2000.
2000. No.
Yeah. 2001, 2001 season.
Yeah. Are we done? I had one. What do you want to talk about? Kirk going to Atlanta? You know what Kirk likes? Money.
God bless that guy.
I don't begrudge him. God bless him. His wife posted videos on Instagram. The house was already packed up because that was a big surprise. What was going to happen? I'm guessing Minnesota wanted him back, but Atlanta offered more guarantees. I think this is the first time Kirk is playing on a contract that not every dollar is guaranteed since 2016.
Yeah, I believe they said that was the difference between the 2 deals was the length of the guarantees. They got 1 extra year in Atlanta of basically guaranteed money. That guy has made a ton of money, and God bless him. I think someone posted it was close to $1/3 of $1 billion from all of his deals. Tip my cap to you, Kirk.
You flipped out a couple years ago when they traded for Wentz because you're like, this is not getting you closer to a championship. And I think Kirk is in a different league than Wentz, but this is, to me, quarterback abyss. As long as you recognize you don't have anything there, is the worst place to be. But the place where you have a guy and pay him a buttload is a bad place to be too. And I like Kirk, and he's performed well, but like some of those Minnesota teams were pretty damn good, and they couldn't win when it mattered. I don't think he's going to Atlanta to win when it matters. This to me is like let's stabilize, and we've got these young weapons. Let's try to show them off. I hope I'm proven wrong. I like Kirk the person, but like I just don't get giving Kirk $100 million guaranteed after an Achilles and he's 37 or whatever it is. Hey, good luck.
We've seen it here in Washington plenty where you make a big signing to appease a fan base that is, at the owner's doorstep, with pitchforks and flames. I that might be a little bit of what Arthur Blank is dealing with down there in Atlanta and needing to stabilize that quarterback position.
Or just the locker room. Just players. You're like, yo, we got talent here and nobody can throw the ball.
Yeah. Don't tell Saba that. Still have Heineke down there, I think, as a backup.
What is Taylor's deal? Is he going to be Kirk's backup?
I believe so. I didn't look at it, but I mean,
would you be shocked if Taylor just had a 1 year? I would not be.
I thought it was a 2-year that he signed, but anyway.
Yeah, but a real 2-year.
Right. Certainly, it'll be there'd be a lot of folks that wear burgundy and gold would be pining after Hopkins quarterbacks.
You tell me the decision you think is coming, and I love Taylor, not taking shots here, but he has a $9 million cap number and $0 guaranteed, and Kirk just got 4 years at 180.
New coaching staff in there that didn't bring him in last year.
The flip side though is Kirk is coming off this Achilles. You might need somebody that can start some games for you. The Falcons are still fairly long in cap space. Now that may not be adjusted with Kirk's deal, but
I also think you got to look at like if starting quarterbacks numbers are going through the roof, which is gonna happen. You got to find if you're paying Kirk 100 mil, you can't afford to have a Jacoby Brissett type backup that's making making 15 mil. You gotta find some value somewhere with with your backup quarterback, which is why when you look at what the Commanders are doing, keeping Sam Howell on a rookie deal as your backup, isn't the worst thing in the world
for now,
for now. For now,
I'll be
I,
curious what Howell potentially fetches as we get closer to the draft. I'm not calling anything. It's entirely possible they keep him. Um, can I?
listen, Mac Jones, real quick. Mac Jones went for a sixth rounder. Brian Burns went for a second and a fifth.
Yeah,
If they do end up moving him, anyone who thinks they're getting more than a fifth at best is probably kidding themselves.
so here's the schedule going forward. We'll tape the show like Thursday or whatever. I don't think there's going to be something big enough to warrant an emergency podcast, frankly. Like no single move that happened today would have warranted an emergency pod, but collectively they did. And if we have a few more days like this where they're just signing a bunch of dudes, we will. But I have a great podcast question debate that I have one specific expert in mind for this. But I at least want to pose it so I don't forget.
Okay.
You know me, I will forget. Frankly, you will too. This is where Pete really excelled, was reminding
Yeah.
us of stuff. We missed Peter. JMU, I picked today on the radio as my play of the day, laying 5.5. And I believe JMU, they're up. I'm just checked. They're up 69-49 with like 10 minutes left over Arkansas State. The Red Wolves that no NFL organization could dare take on the Arkansas State Red Wolves in court or just write a check to make them happy. No way that could happen. Something tells me it might happen now. Anyway, anywho, I started thinking about JMU as the only sort of DMV-ish representative that's going to make the NCAA tournament should they beat Arkansas State, right? And certainly JMU's too far away to count as like a real local, but it's pretty damn local that a lot of local kids go there. It's not that far away. I mean, you and I went to Maryland. We're inside the Beltway. We used to drive to JMU like once a semester at the party, whatever. Like it's quasi-local. And then I started thinking about this, and maybe I think Mike Phillips might be a premier expert. But what college in America, frankly, but 4-year like college, not a junior college or community college or any of that, but like a legit 4-year college where people live in dorms and stuff, do you think has the highest percentage of Redskins football team, Commanders, Burgundy and Gold fans as undergraduate students at that college? And what made me think about that is I kind of think it might be JMU. UVA's got too many fancy things. Like there's just too many smart kids coming to UVA. Maryland, I think, has too many Jersey, Philly, Long Island kids. Maybe Virginia Tech.
Georgetown.
Hell no, that's a national.
Yeah, you're right.
Like Georgetown, GW, those are national schools.
You know what? Philly would be good for this because I bet ODU is probably pretty high as well. Old Dominion,
right?
Being over there, in by the beach.
I mean, maybe it's VCU. I don't know.
Maybe VCU. That's not a bad call either.
I don't know. It's an interesting question. I don't have an answer. My gut though tells me it's everybody I know that went to JMU, and over time as I've learned more and more people that went to JMU, as my JMU, I think diaspora is the word, has grown. Like there are some kids from Jersey or Connecticut or whatever, but damn near all of them are from I'd say 80% of James Madison is from Montgomery County, Loudoun County, Fairfax County. And that may be overestimating, but it sure seems like it, dude.
How about we do that? It's been a while since we've done this. If you went to if you went to a college within 2.5 hours of the University of within 2.5 hours of Washington, D.C., and you're a Commanders fan, which if you're listening this far into this pod, you are, tweet us. Let us know where you went to school.
Yeah.
We could do
Maybe
a
we're sleeping
impromptu
on.
poll.
Maybe we're sleeping on Mason. But does Mason have dorms? Is Mason like a? I'm not even. Lord
I
knows I'm gonna get grief now. But like I don't. I feel like Mason's not like a college. Like you don't. I don't know. Maybe I'll stop.
I believe at one point Mason was like the highest percentage commuter school in the country or something like that. So it's definitely a big commuter school.
Maybe
But
that's changed. I'm not trying to take shots. I feel like it could be Mason though. That's like right in their wheelhouse of actual Fairfax County.
the Redskins Talk listeners can tell us what they think.
Do you agree that it's not Maryland?
Yes, I think Maryland might have the highest number, but not the highest percentage.
Ooh, I like that.
How about that?
Yeah, I like that.
I think we're doing mean versus
And
median or
I
something.
think Maryland has really been impacted by the
It
Ravens.
being well, and Maryland also has become a smart school, so
Yeah,
it's not as many it's not all Maryland local kids going there now.
I think Maryland has. I think they like actively try to get extra out of state people in there. I think Virginia, yeah, it's more cash. Virginia has more colleges and more options, but so I feel like they keep more in-state students there.
Yeah.
And I feel like Virginia is hardcore, or not hardcore, but Virginia is more, the percentage of Skins fans in Virginia is significantly higher than the percentage of Skins fans in Maryland. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Like I bet
100%.
like 85% of NFL fans in Virginia are Skins fans, and I bet like 60% of NFL fans in Maryland are Skins fans. You think that's too high?
I think that might be a little high. I think
Yeah,
right now it might be a little high. I think the Ravens have eaten into that a fair amount.
but there's more people down here, aren't there?
Down.
I think
don't
there's
know.
more people, and I am totally guessing.
Yeah, we're really getting out of our.
But I'd argue, I bet there's more people in Montgomery and PG counties combined than, I don't want to say the rest of the state because that seems absurd, but certainly more than like Baltimore County, and like Hartford County or whatever, Cecil. I don't even know what those counties are. And then like
Yeah.
Anne Arundel and Howard are like kind of split.
I gotta be honest, I have no idea.
Well, I
couldn't
don't
even venture
either,
a
and I'm
guess
just
on
saying
it.
stuff.
Listen, as long as you say it confidently with your chest, we're good.
I thought it would be a fun conversation. Let's circle back to that in like 6 weeks when there's something to talk about after the draft with Mike Phillips. Or hell, people can just tweet us where they went to college, and
Yeah.
it'll be an old-fashioned boondoggle.
Tweet off.
Are we good?
I believe we are good unless any news is broken during this pod. So
All right, 8:31 Monday night. We will be back, certainly no later than Thursday, but maybe prior to that. Stay tuned. Thank you for listening. If you made it this far, I owe you a beer.